Okay, so quick shout out to my buddy Chris Greene for starring in this film. I love seeing local, hardworking talent get quality work. And if you see this, congratulations, Chris. Seriously, great job. The Birth of a Nation is written, directed, and starring Nate Parker, Armie Hammer, Gabrielle Union, and my friend, Chris Greene. And this film is about the life and times of Nat Turner, an exceptionally intelligent slave who's forced to recite scripture to the slave communities of other plantation owners. But the catch is that Turner can only recite sections of the Bible that seemingly justify slavery and the will of white men. As he travels to all these plantations, he experiences first-hand accounts of the worst possible slave conditions. Torture, rape, starvation, the works. Okay, so I gotta say, for Nate Parker's first attempt at writing and directing a feature-length film, I've gotta say that this is one of the strongest, most ambitious, and riskiest debuts that I've ever seen. You can just tell that he truly cared about telling the story and bringing this vision to life. The reason why I say vision is because I'm pretty sure there's not a lot of concrete information on Nat Turner out there. So I'm sure a hefty majority of this film is just Nate Parker's interpretation, which I thought was fine. This film is almost entirely about Nat Turner's life and internal journey leading to the rebellion, which some people may not expect. The actual rebellion part, which provides the bulk of the action in this film, doesn't happen until the final fourth of this movie. With that said, Nate Parker clearly visualized this story in a very artistic and emotional light, and it shows in the directing and cinematography. This film has gorgeous cinematography and relies heavily on deep dark colors and this blue hue that really helps set this muddled and gloomy world. Many of the shots are filled with illusions and symbols that make you stop and think and wonder what Nate Parker was trying to translate to the audience. Sometimes these metaphors really work, but then in other times, regardless of how intelligent they are, they just feel out of place. Parker alludes to a lot of African tradition and culture throughout the film, and makes it an effort to show that these people weren't just being stripped of their freedom, but also their identity and their culture. Now, Nate Parker himself delivers a passionate, emotionally packed performance that allows you to sympathize with his character the most. There is purpose in every single one of his actions and words that helps develop Nat Turner as a leader far before the rebellion actually happens. This movie actually spends a lot more time dissecting religion in comparison to other slave movies, which was a very interesting and risky approach. Religion is a touchy subject, so when you see Nat Turner essentially battling religion with religion, it makes you stop and think about the validity of religion in a sense. Armie Hammer was also very good in this movie, but his character was a tad confusing. He plays a plantation owner that's supposed to be less cruel in comparison to other plantation owners. Kinda. Basically, him and Nat Turner grew up together as kids, and once his father passed away, he became the owner of the plantation. So you were expected to have a slightly more personal and slightly more cordial relationship because of their upbringing, and the movie does show signs of this. However, there are many scenes that just felt random and inconsistent with Hammer's character whenever he does something despicable involving Nat. He protects him in one scene, but then has him viciously whipped in the next. You can also view this as Parker showing us how back then, their relationship never actually mattered if the slave owner had something to gain or prove. The ensemble as a whole did a great job at bringing the slave culture to life, with my boy Chris Greene, of course, being my favorite side character and doing the best job, but hey, I'm not biased, I swear. However, the main issue that I had was that this film doesn't really make an effort to flesh out any of the supporting characters. So once the rebellion actually does start to go down and people start dying, you really don't have a deep emotional connection to any character besides Nat Turner. Yes, we understand that these circumstances are awful and these are awful people and these people are fighting for freedom, but if there is no depth added to the group of people that are being victimized aside from the lead character, it makes it a lot more difficult to care about anyone else. This is actually the reason why I felt like this movie really shouldn't have been called The Birth of a Nation, because it focuses far more on Nat Turner than the group of oppressed people that are trying to fight for change. I felt as though this movie would have been more effective if it focused itself up and chose between the two themes. Either focusing on this group of people, which we've seen before, or spending far more time on the actual rebellion portion of this film and meticulously showing how Nat Turner arranged this rebellion. And of course, adding some more important supporting characters to it to add some emotional depth. As a slave narrative, there really isn't anything inherently new that is done in this movie. We've seen gruesome rape and torture and basically all of the worst parts of slavery before. Yes, this film does depict all of that very well, and it does help characterize Nat Turner. But in attracting audiences that aren't necessarily interested in watching another film about slavery, they really should have considered shaving down that expected portion of the film. I personally wish they would have narrowed it down and focused on the rebellion, especially since the rebellion battles are so well done and very emotional and just difficult to watch. All in all, as somebody who's very desensitized to films about slavery and torture, I enjoyed this movie far more than I was expecting. This is a gripping, powerful, artistic passion piece that does hold a lot of cinematic merit if you're willing to look past some of its shortcomings. And for all these reasons, I'm going to give The Birth of a Nation a 7 out of 10. The Birth of a Nation. Have you seen it? Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. And while you're at it, let me know what your favorite film about an uprising is. Also, quick side note. This movie was unfortunately sabotaged by the media because of the controversy that surrounded Nate Parker. And instances like this infuriate me, especially when, in this case, the controversy was already resolved. People are actively bashing this film, people who haven't even seen this movie, because they have some type of unwarranted animosity towards Nate Parker, or because they don't agree with the subject matter and the purpose of this film. Just because you do not agree with somebody else or their mission, does not mean that their work, their character, or their art is worth any less. I just felt like I need to say that. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. It truly does mean a lot. If you like this video, don't forget to hit like. And if you want to stick around and watch some more movie reviews, hey, hit subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.